mothers and fathers who've lost a child to online harm. However, Newsweek reports it's now been passed over to another organisation called Parents Together.
Meghan Markle is in serious trouble, at least according to the headlines. Claims of massive debt, legal chaos, and a career in free fall are everywhere. But when you trace where these stories actually come from, a much stranger reality begins to surface. Because the money, the legal drama, and the so-called downfall tell a very different story. So what's the story everyone is actually missing?
This is not a surprise to anybody. It's really sad that it's got to this point, but I've got to do something for my own mental health, for my wife's, and for Archie's as well, because I could see where this was headed.
And why is no one talking about it? Join us as we uncover what's really happening with Meghan Markle. The unemployment crisis. Over the past 5 years, Harry and Meghan have gone through 11 publicists, a turnover rate that stands out even in an industry built to handle difficult personalities and non-stop pressure. Public relations professionals are trained to manage crises, calm volatile situations, and keep demanding clients on message. So when this many experienced people keep leaving the same high-profile clients, it points to something deeper than bad luck. It suggests a working environment that even seasoned professionals decide is not worth the effort. The most recent exit came in December 2025, when Meredith Maines stepped down as Chief Communications Officer after only 10 months. She had joined in March 2025 with 2 decades of experience and a resume that included senior roles at Google and Hulu. In Hollywood terms, she was highly respected and well-connected.
We're looking for was here last week.
Yeah, he's our age, blonde hair, blue eyes.
Cute with a great smile?
Yeah, you know him.
If his name's Lucky, I know him all right.
Exactly the kind of person brought in to stabilize and professionalize a media operation. Her departure came at the same time their United States-based PR firm, Method Communications, chose not to renew its contract after being hired in June 2025. What followed was unusual even by celebrity standards. Several top American PR agencies reportedly declined to take them on as clients at all. This was not a matter of full schedules or conflicts of interest, but a direct refusal. Entertainment reporter Rob Shooter was among those who reported that agencies saw them as high maintenance while being unwilling to spend at the level expected for clients of their profile. In the celebrity world, reputation management is expensive for a reason. Established A-listers routinely spend well into 6 figures every year on PR, and often much more to cover crisis response, media training, long-term strategy, journalist outreach, and constant monitoring of coverage across platforms. Those systems cannot function properly on a reduced budget. Money, however, appears to be only part of the issue. Former staff members have described a working dynamic marked by shifting expectations and unclear direction. The problem was not relentless press attention, but the difficulty of meeting constantly changing demands from the principals themselves. In public relations, consistency matters. Strategies only work when clients agree on goals and allow professionals to execute a plan over time. When priorities move suddenly and decisions reverse without warning, even the best teams are forced into permanent damage control. This pattern also shows up inside their charitable organization, Archewell. From its founding in 2020 through 2024, 18 staff members departed. In December 2025, James Holt, a longtime advisor who had worked with Prince Harry for close to a decade and served as executive director, announced he was leaving as well. Around the same time, the foundation restructured and laid off 3 junior employees shortly before the holidays. Reports indicate the organization now operates with a skeletal staff, relying largely on one senior figure who also manages responsibilities for other high-profile clients, along with minimal administrative help. Archewell's public financial filings add more context. In 2024, the foundation reported spending about $5.1 million while bringing in roughly $2.6 million in revenue, making up the difference by drawing down reserves. Expenses rose by more than half compared to the prior year, a jump widely linked to international trips to Nigeria and Colombia. Over $1 million went to outside agencies for program strategy and communications, including a major global advertising firm, while direct grants to charitable causes were comparatively small and spread across a handful of organizations. Against this backdrop, the decision to promote a London-based communications staffer to oversee operations on an interim basis raised eyebrows. Managing California-based media from the UK involves an 8-hour time difference, which makes rapid response to US news cycles difficult. The move was widely interpreted as a cost-saving measure rather than a strategic upgrade. Without strong, stable PR support, problems tend to compound. New projects become harder to sell without trusted intermediaries vouching for them. Negative stories linger longer when there is no coordinated response. Brands already cautious tend to avoid figures who divide public opinion, since controversy can alienate large parts of their customer base. But if nobody will work with them, who's watching their content? The content catastrophe. When the couple first partnered with Netflix, everything worked because the timing was perfect. In December 2022, their docuseries Harry and Meghan dropped and pulled in about 81.6 million viewing hours in its first week, making it Netflix's biggest documentary debut at the time. People tuned in because they were curious and because this was the first time the couple told this story in full, from their relationship to their exit from royal life and the family tension that followed. It felt exclusive and personal, and the numbers reflected that. Once that curiosity was satisfied, though, the momentum faded quickly. The projects that followed showed a clear drop in interest. Live to Lead, a documentary series built around interviews with well-known figures like Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Gloria Steinem, barely made a dent. It never appeared in Netflix's top 10 in any country, and later engagement reports suggested the audience was extremely small. The idea itself wasn't bad, but viewers were not looking to them for lessons on leadership. Most people who clicked on their first project were there for personal drama, not thoughtful conversations about global change. Heart of Invictus, released in 2023, focused on wounded veterans competing in the Invictus Games, a cause Prince Harry genuinely cares about, despite the emotional subject matter and the importance of the event. The series reportedly drew only around 300,000 views. Part of the issue was confusion about focus. It never quite decided whether it was about the athlete's stories or Harry's role behind the scenes, and that lack of clarity left it struggling to connect with viewers. After its release window, it also disappeared from Netflix engagement reports. Pearl, an animated series Meghan developed about a young girl inspired by influential women from history, never even made it to air. Netflix canceled it during production in 2022 as part of the company-wide budget cuts. Even so, the cancellation mattered because it was meant to show creative range beyond their own lives, and its loss left their slate looking thinner and more repetitive. With Love, Meghan was another attempt to broaden appeal. The lifestyle series was well-produced and carefully put together, with appearances from people like Mindy Kaling and Chef Roy Choi. It generated about 25.5 million viewing hours and roughly 5.3 million views in early 2025, which sounds solid until it is compared to real Netflix hits. The show ranked 389th among all titles in the first half of that year, far outside the range of projects that drive subscriptions or cultural buzz. At that level, it meant most viewers chose something else. Polo followed a similar pattern. The 5-part docuseries about elite polo competitions, executive produced by Harry, attracted roughly 500,000 viewers by mid-2025. Out of more than 260 million Netflix subscribers, that amounted to a tiny fraction. Reviews were harsh, with critics describing it as dull and overly focused on wealth and privilege. Audience scores were low, and it failed to gain traction beyond its initial release. Spotify told a similar story. The couple signed a reported $20 million deal in 2020, and Meghan's podcast Archetypes launched in August 2022 with high-profile guests like Serena Williams, Mariah Carey, and Paris Hilton. The concept was clear and professionally produced, but after one season of 12 episodes, Spotify ended the partnership in June 2023. Executives later hinted that the output simply did not match the size of the investment, reinforcing the idea that the couple could secure big deals but struggled to deliver consistent content. Across every platform, the same pattern appeared. Massive curiosity drove one big success, but that interest did not turn into a loyal audience. Once the royal drama was told, viewers did not stick around for leadership talks, documentaries, lifestyle shows, or sports coverage. The streaming giants aren't saying the Sussexes are bad people. They're saying something potentially worse. Nobody cares. And if nobody's watching, who's paying the bills? The financial reality. They are not sitting on $100 million in debt, but that does not mean money is not a real concern for them right now. The pressure comes from how fast their income has dropped compared to how expensive their life still is, and that makes the next year especially important. Back in 2020, they were pulling in massive attention and massive deals. Between Netflix and Spotify alone, the total value attached to their names was estimated at around $120 million. That level of income created the impression that money would never be an issue, but those deals were always limited in time. Spotify was the first big relationship to end. The $20 million deal signed in 2020 produced only one podcast series, Archetypes, which launched in August 2022 and ran for a single season of 12 episodes. By June 2023, Spotify walked away from the partnership. Whatever portion of that money had not already been paid was gone, and the public nature of the split made it harder for them to attract new audio partners willing to invest at the same level. Netflix is now heading the same way. Their deal is expected to end in 2026, and there has been no announcement of a renewal or a replacement agreement. While the exact numbers were never disclosed, industry insiders have said the arrangement included steady producer fees and development funding that likely brought in millions each year. Without a new long-term streaming deal, that reliable income stream disappears. Any future Netflix work would likely be project by project, which offers exposure but not financial security. Harry's book Spare was a huge success when it came out in 2023, selling about 1.4 million copies across major English-speaking markets on its first day. Celebrity memoir advances are often estimated between $20 and $40 million, making that book a major one-time payout. The challenge is that it represented exactly that, a one-off. A second memoir would almost certainly sell fewer copies because the most dramatic parts of a story are already public, and readers tend to lose interest once the shock wears off. While income has slowed, their expenses have not. Their Montecito home cost $14.65 million and now comes with roughly $1 million a year in running costs. Property taxes alone were about $112,000 in 2023, and that figure has risen steadily each year. On top of that are insurance, utilities, and the upkeep of an 18,000 square foot house sitting on more than 5 acres. Real estate experts have compared managing a property like that to running a small hotel, complete with cleaning staff, maintenance workers, and groundskeepers. Security is another unavoidable cost. Estimates for full-time private protection for high-profile figures like them range from $2 to $4 million a year. with some experts placing it even higher. Given their global visibility and the level of controversy surrounding them, this is not an area where they can realistically cut corners. There are also ongoing business and legal costs. Even with Archewell operating on a reduced staff, basic operations and professional fees can easily run into the hundreds of thousands each year. Harry's legal battles with British media groups and his appeal over UK security arrangements add substantial legal bills on top of that. Put together, conservative estimates place their annual spending somewhere between $5 and $7 million, possibly more. With their biggest income sources gone, they are likely dipping into savings while trying to build something new. Meghan's lifestyle brand has shown early interest, with products selling out quickly. But building a profitable consumer brand takes heavy upfront investment and time. Early demand does not mean immediate cash flow. Their charitable foundation now needs funding rather than producing it, and recent restructuring points to tighter budgets. Speaking engagements could still bring in large fees, but their polarizing image limits demand. They are not broke, and they own valuable assets, but they are facing a familiar problem seen with athletes and celebrities who earn fast and spend big. The debt rumor is fiction, but the financial squeeze is real. So if the money's running out and the deals are dead, what exactly did the internet get wrong about that sentencing? Debunk the lie. Understanding what's fabricated in this narrative reveals how misinformation spreads and why distortion often overshadows reality. The idea that there is $100 million of debt comes from a basic misunderstanding of how entertainment deals work. That number was never debt, never cash sitting in a personal bank account, and never money that needed to be paid back. It was the reported value of the Netflix content deal signed in 2020, and that value covered years of production costs, development budgets, and compensation tied to projects made through their production company. In entertainment, those big headline deal numbers don't mean someone gets that money in their pocket. They usually describe the total amount a company plans to spend over time on making the shows, paying crews, covering marketing and compensating talent, not a single personal paycheck. Big production deals spread their reported value across many project budgets instead of paying it all directly to the talent. Netflix funded Archewell Productions to make content, paying producer fees and giving creative control, while most of the money went to production costs, staff salaries, and development work. Industry estimates suggest that in deals like this, personal compensation usually lands somewhere between 10 and 25% of the total reported value, spread out over several years. That still represents substantial compensation, while falling dramatically short of headline figures. Treating that number as personal cash or debt is simply wrong. When the Netflix deal ends in 2026 without a renewal, it does not mean money is suddenly owed or that there has been a financial collapse. It means a contract has reached its natural conclusion. Netflix has been stepping away from long exclusive deals across its business, choosing instead to fund projects individually. This shift has affected many creators, not just Harry and Meghan. From Netflix's point of view, the company has already received what it wanted, which was a burst of attention and content tied to global curiosity. The other claim that keeps spreading is the idea of sentencing, and that one relies on confusion around legal language. Meghan Markle has not been criminally sentenced, convicted, or charged with any crime. There's been no trial, no judgment from a criminal court, and no punishment imposed by a judge. Even so, the word sentencing keeps appearing because it triggers strong reactions online. Words connected to crime and punishment drive clicks far more effectively than accurate descriptions. Creators learned that legal language sparks emotion before people stop to think. When viewers see dramatic words tied to a famous face, they react quickly, and that reaction feeds algorithms. More clicks lead to more visibility, which encourages even more exaggerated framing. Over time, repetition creates belief, even when there is nothing behind it. Prince Harry's ongoing involvement in civil court cases adds fuel to that confusion. In early 2025, he reached a major settlement with a media company over unlawful information gathering, reportedly worth tens of millions of pounds. He won that case, and the company paid him. Still, the repeated mention of courts and lawsuits created an atmosphere that made it easy for online narratives to imply wrongdoing where none existed. He currently has 2 active legal actions. One involves a privacy case against a newspaper publisher, scheduled for trial in 2026. The other is an appeal over the withdrawal of publicly funded security in the United Kingdom. In both situations, he is the one bringing the case, not defending himself against criminal accusations. These civil proceedings carry financial and reputational stakes rather than criminal penalties, a distinction that fundamentally changes their nature and potential outcomes. What people often mistake for sentencing is actually something else entirely. It is a professional and social judgment. Public relations firms declining to work with them, streaming platforms choosing not to renew deals, and brands keeping their distance are all forms of market decision-making. These outcomes have real consequences for income and influence, but they are not imposed by courts or law enforcement. The danger in mixing these ideas is that it distracts from the real issue. Criminal punishment removes freedom and leaves lasting legal consequences. What is happening here is reputational damage and shrinking opportunity, which comes from industry choices and public response. That situation is serious, but it can change with different decisions and a better strategy. The more interesting story is not about imaginary crimes, but about why so many doors are quietly closing at the same time. But here's what's really fascinating. Why are millions of people believing and sharing these fake headlines in the first place? Why we're watching headlines claiming Meghan Markle is $100 million in debt and sentenced pull in millions of views, even though the claims are clearly untrue. That happens because people are wired to pay attention to stories about someone breaking rules and facing consequences. Long ago, noticing who crossed lines and what happened to them helped groups stay stable and individuals stay safe. Today, that same instinct shows up as fascination with celebrity downfalls, turning an old survival habit into modern entertainment. The Sussexes represent a perfect case for this kind of attention. First, they were royalty. People enjoy seeing high-status figures stumble because it creates a sense of justice and satisfaction. It's the classic Schadenfreude effect. The higher someone's status, the more emotionally satisfying it is to watch them struggle. When royals fail, it feels like privilege isn't absolute, and that resonates with a wide audience. Second, their actions made the story compelling. Their problems didn't just happen, they created many of them through decisions that alienated people who could have helped them. Leaving royal duties, pursuing independence, and clashing with institutions created a narrative of self-sabotage. Viewers can't help but ask, will they fix things or will it get worse? Every misstep keeps audiences coming back. Third, they're morally complex. They aren't purely heroes or villains, which makes them more interesting. Meghan faced racism and press intrusion, which earns sympathy, while both of them have made decisions that look entitled or tone-deaf. That mix means people on different sides of the political spectrum can find proof for their own views. Progressives see victims of systemic abuse and media bias, while conservatives see entitled individuals abandoning duty and complaining about privilege. The same facts feed both interpretations. Royalty also adds another layer. Being born into extreme privilege draws curiosity, resentment, and fascination all at once. Their story isn't just celebrity gossip, it's about a family that represents hereditary status, wealth, and the legacy of institutions. Meghan's racial identity adds even more tension. As a biracial woman joining a mostly white institution, she faced unique challenges. Some audiences see her treatment as evidence of systemic discrimination, while others think she uses race to excuse criticism. Both responses generate strong engagement. Then there's the wealth factor. Living in a $14.65 million mansion and signing $120 million in deals, they face problems far removed from everyday struggles. That contrast creates a mix of sympathy and resentment. People relate emotionally, but also judge what they see as contradictions between image and reality. Finally, parasocial relationships amplify interest. Fans feel like they know the couple personally. When Harry and Meghan make controversial choices, viewers experience it as if friends are making mistakes, which makes the story feel urgent and personal. Content creators understand all of this. Headlines claiming sentenced or $100 million in debt aren't mistakes. They're designed to trigger our instincts for drama and downfall. Algorithms reward clicks, watch time, and shares, so exaggerating or misrepresenting facts becomes a tool for engagement. That's why false narratives spread so quickly, even when anyone who checks the facts can see how misleading they are. So if everything we've been told is either exaggerated or false, what's actually happening? What happens next? Harry and Meghan's future is genuinely uncertain. This isn't the dramatic, "it's all over" nonsense you see in clickbait headlines, but it's also not obviously just a temporary setback before a comeback. The next 6 to 12 months are critical for them. How they handle money, family, and professional opportunities could decide whether their brand rebounds, continues to decline, or fades into permanent irrelevance. A few major pressures are all hitting at once. One is Harry's security appeal in the UK, expected early 2026. If he gets taxpayer-funded protection back, it removes a key obstacle to bringing the family to Britain, which could allow reconciliation attempts with King Charles and enable Meghan to attend the Invictus Games in Birmingham in July 2026. That would be their first significant UK appearance together in years. If the appeal is denied, Harry's absence will still be justified publicly, but it risks him looking like he's constantly victimized, which could fuel negative narratives. Either outcome matters, neither guarantees success. King Charles's health is another factor. The king is battling cancer, which creates urgency. If his condition worsens, Harry may feel compelled to return regardless of security arrangements, forcing a reconciliation under stressful circumstances. Grief, family tension, and media attention. If Charles remains stable, the window for reconciliation could shrink as Prince William becomes more central in the institution. Time pressure is real. Either reconcile soon or accept estrangement may become permanent. Financial sustainability is another immediate issue. Without a new, significant income stream in the next year or so, they may need to cut lifestyle costs, sell assets, or take on commercial projects they've previously avoided. Even with savings, their annual spending of $5 to $7 million means money can run out quickly if earnings don't keep pace. Their children's ages add pressure too. Archie is 6, Lilibet 4, old enough to remember family dynamics but still young enough that connections with grandparents and cousins could be repaired. The longer they wait, the harder it becomes for the children to form meaningful ties with their British relatives. If success is possible, it will require major changes. They could reflect on past patterns that caused staff departures, invest in professional guidance, follow expert advice, and show consistent behavior over time. Another path is quietly reducing their public profile while focusing on developing genuine expertise in one area, something that builds credibility and reputation independent of celebrity. A third option is concentrating on Harry's Invictus Games work. which has clear value and authenticity, while scaling back other ventures. This would maintain a positive platform, but limit reach. Without big changes, the most likely scenario is a gradual fade. They would remain famous enough for tabloids and some commercial deals, but their cultural significance and financial success would slowly decline. They'd move from project to project without major wins, holding on to grievances against media and family while public interest steadily decreases. Wildcard scenarios exist. They could reinvent themselves through acknowledging mistakes and proving sustained change, though history suggests this is unlikely. Or something unexpected, such as health crises, major scandals, or slow reconciliation with the royal family, could reshape the situation. The verdict isn't final because the story is still unfolding. It's not about $100 million in debt or courtroom sentences. It's about two people who bet everything on a strategy that hasn't worked, now facing consequences they didn't expect. So what do you think happens next? Will they find a way to turn this around? Or is this the beginning of the end? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video, showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.